What's up, everybody? Welcome to Come On Get Happy Hour. Welcome back, y'all. What's up, Sketch?
What's up? How's everybody
Talking to my
doing?
homie up in Canada, my producer, the
Yeah,
brains
yeah.
behind the operation, the lovely Miss Judy Sketch Lewinson. What's up?
That's me. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. It's 420, man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do
Mm-hmm.
you guys celebrate that 420 up there?
I'm almost gonna say that maybe my part of the world, specifically Vancouver, created that because I do recall
Really?
the very first protest being on the Art Step Gallery of Vancouver Arts Gallery at 420, and now it's like a festival, and they gather on the beaches because it's all legal now in Canada. But
Is it? Just
those
like us,
first
huh?
few, yeah, those first few years, I remember you would see signs up, put up either by local law enforcement or hotels saying, if you have any sort of allergies or asthma conditions, please be advised that on the 20th day of April, or the fourth month, it'll be a little smokier than usual in the Metro Vancouver area.
There's going to
And
be a
like,
cloud
yeah,
hovering above.
it
And I've
li-
got allergies, and actually, I sound like I was been hanging out with this guy right here again, Tommy Chong.
yeah.
What's up, Tommy Chong? This is so cool. So this top picture was about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
Actually, I tried to go make an honest living there and cut my hair. But as you know, in the book, The Trans Am Diaries, I talk about my Uncle Ricky, who was only like 7 years older than me. And his motto in life was blaze on.
I love that
So
phrase.
420 today would be a Tuesday. If
Yes.
this airs tomorrow, it'll be
A
a
Wednesday.
Wednesday. So every day is 420 to Uncle Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
But so growing up, and I've told this story many times, when he would babysit me and he was supposed to take me to Disney movies, he would take me to Cheech and Chong movies. So years later, I ended up working with Tommy Chong on a project. And I said, Tommy, please do me a favor. Can you sign a headshot to my Uncle Ricky and say, Uncle Ricky, blaze on? And he did. And Uncle Ricky, he died a couple years ago, but the day he died, he had that headshot hanging in the living room of his trailer from Tommy Chong and said, blaze on.
I love it. I love it.
Right on. Happy 420.
Yes, indeed.
So instead of smoking tonight, we do a little drinking thing. And I think the drinking word tonight should be talent, because we got two amazing guests that won awards I didn't even hear of, like the Annie Award. I didn't know what the hell that was. It's for voiceover work. But anyway, last week, as you know, we did one of our top 10 lists that we do weekly, and it was movie quotes. And I knew that one was going to blow up because everybody has a favorite.
Right.
So the last time I checked,
so many.
96 suggestions. All of them were from legit movies.
Okay.
So we narrowed it down to 10, a very scientific 10, how I do the research and the polls of thousands of people. I hang out at the malls, I do all that.
Yeah.
In other words,
survey says.
And my favorite always wins. What are the chances? But no, I felt bad because there were so many good ones, and I had like extra ones written down last week, like honorable mentions. And I'm like, no, I think we should do a part duh. Like
I
a part
love it.
two.
Yes. But yes.
I mean, you had a few good ones.
There's a couple ones in there. Yeah, there's so many, and that's the thing about it. You think about one or two, and then they just start flooding in, and then like after we finished, I was just like, oh man, there's all these other ones for this whole other genre of music.
Today I thought of another one. I'm like, and I just said it to someone, not thinking about the list. I just said it, and I'm like, oh,
right.
We're going to do a part two tonight.
All right then.
First, I stand corrected myself. Last week I said, I think there was only one song I know of that became a hit song that was taken from a movie quote, and that was "Me So Honey" by the lyrical poet, Two Live Crew. What was his name?
Yeah, Luke there.
Luke, yeah, Luke.
Uncle Luke.
Uncle Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
But no, there was another one I thought of, and it was taken from The Searchers, John Wayne. I don't think you'll know this one, from the 50s. And I'm reading an autobiography by Waylon Jennings, and I just learned this 2 nights ago. That'll be the day when you say goodbye. Buddy Holly, that'll be the day.
That was a movie quote?
He saw The Searchers with John Wayne, and the Duke, there's this like whippersnapper, he's like 17, and the Duke kept, pushing him around or whatever. And the guy's like, when I get a little bit older, I'm going to whoop you. And he goes, that'll be the day. And he staggered off. And Buddy Holly saw that and said, what a cool little
line.
That'll be the day. So there we go.
That's a good one. I had no idea.
Music trivia. My brain is filled with that.
It's awesome.
You don't
If
believe
only
me?
there
So
was a
what?
party we could have so you could just share it with everyone.
Woo!
Oh,
Where's
wait a
everybody
minute. Here we
going? I'm just
are.
getting started.
Come on, get happy hour.
All right, y'all. Let's knock out this week's part 2 of top 10 movie quotes. And this is a good one from Home Alone. Take that, you filthy animal.
Right.
Remember that, the gangster guy? Which, by the way, that wasn't even a real gangster movie. They just created that for. Gonna need a bigger boat.
Yep.
Jaws. And again, these impressions are spot on. So
I mean, uncanny.
Scary. I know. I got chills. So if you're not getting them, that's on you, because I'm nailing it. And you said this one last week. It wasn't in my top 10 because I'd already made the top 10.
Right,
so
right.
Not bad. Say what again?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all in the cadence, right? Say what again? Just say what again?
Yeah.
I feel like I may have heard incarnations of that growing up.
Oh, Samuel Jackson right there. He nails everything.
Yeah.
Too many mother
on this boat.
On this plane.
Right.
All right, there's another one. Another one with some bad words in it. Yippee-ki-o-I-A, however he says it.
Right, right. Die Hard.
Boom, Die Hard. Come up and see me sometime. Mae West.
Oh, right, yeah.
We're taking it way back on that one. There's no crying in baseball.
Oh, yes. The
Penny
Marshall classic.
No crying in baseball. And this one, between you and me, and I'm not sure it would have made it, but the guy is a friend of mine, and he's very influential in the entertainment business. So it made it to number 4 magically.
Okay.
Ain't Life Grand? Warren Beatty, Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, okay.
See how I bumped up the numbers?
I see.
Yo, Adrian!
Oh, wow. How did we miss that one before?
I know, we missed that last week. I can't believe it. But I like to tell the truth. And you know what? You can't handle the truth. I am on fire tonight. Yeah. Last one. Can't believe we didn't do this one last week.
Is this on the same level of energy of you can't handle the truth? Oh, wait a minute.
Talking to me?
You talking to me? Because it looks like you're talking to me. Yeah. But we did have De Niro we had De Niro for another line. You know, we should do a list of favorite De Niro lines.
Did we have De Niro for another one?
My line from before, it's from The Untouchables when he says, you have a fight, you have an all-outs fight, one guy left standing, and that's how you know who won.
So many good ones.
So many
damn good ones. All right, I'm feeling good. 420 up in here.
Exactly. Who do we got coming on tonight? 2
amazing guests. Someone just texted me. I think it's one of our guests. He's in the waiting room. All right, we're going to knock this out real quick tonight, y'all. We got 2 award-winning guests. I can't believe we nailed both of these this week. One guy I've been a fan of for a long time. A lot of mutual friends. I knew his body of work from one of my favorite shows, Reno 911, and he's done so many. He's in a movie with a friend of ours sketch, Jill Michelle Millian, called Witness Infection. But he's done like 1 million voiceovers, and I was just going crazy today looking at Disney's Planes and Bane from Batman, Rocco's Modern Life on Netflix, 1 million of them. So he's got his own little series now he started called How Did I Create That Voice? And he tells the story behind each animated character. So I can't wait to get to Mr. Carlo Alazraqui. Please tell me I said that right.
Carlo Alazraqui.
Is that how you said it?
Yeah.
Multi-talented guy. Another guy, 2-time Grammy winner, 17 nominations.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I love it.
I told him we had 14 million viewers, and luckily didn't check the numbers before. But we're going to talk about #1 albums. We're going to talk about artists he's worked with like Nancy Williams, Nancy Wilson, Jackson Brown, Stanley Clarke, Etta James, and Mr. Mr. Luther Vandross. I got to tell a story about a Luther Vandross concert I went to. The ladies were like fainting. Woo.
Oh, yes.
Luther Vandross. And he's got 3 books out, pulling the curtain back on the music business. And his name is Mr. Jeff Weber. So Jeff and I share a publisher, and that's how I snagged Jeff.
Awesome.
Anyway, I'm ready to kick it. The drinking word tonight is talent.
Talent.
We got lots of talent on the show. So everybody, instead of 420 doing this, we doing this to the talent. You ready to kick it, Sketch?
I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
as I said just a couple minutes ago, this guy has done amazing movies, amazing work. I've been a fan of his for a long time. We've got mutual friends, and he's got a movie coming out called Witness Infection. We're going to talk about, but other things he's done like the Taco Bell dog and a million voiceovers, Bane from Batman, Disney's Planes movie. I mean, I was just on the way home today. I picked up my daughter and I was watching a little series he's been doing, how he created each character and the voice or the voice behind the character. And he's going to tell us all about that. Give it up for my man, Carlos Alazraqui.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Stevie.
How you feeling, buddy?
I'm doing well, obviously a big day. Not just because I got my second Pfizer, but doing well. Got family, kids. We're all healthy, and we're really thankful for that. And working away with our mutual pal, Jill Michelle Melian, on new things. And
Jill Michelle.
We're doing well out here in California, in Burbank. So
you're not feeling woozy? You're okay?
I'm okay so far. Yeah, I yesterday I had some Peruvian friends over, so the Argentinian and me went to Whole Foods, got the grass-fed top sirloin, slapped a couple of those things on. So I got I did that, steak and eggs. I did that crappy detective dinner, steak and eggs for lunch. Lots of protein, lots of Gatorade, some Tylenol. So far, so good. We'll see. It might sneak up on me tomorrow. But I will tell people out there, if you're ever going to get the Shingrix shot for shingles. I got that a year ago, January, and that second Shingrix shot, woo, it Moderna'd me. It got me. It got me bad. But so we'll see. I just want to
say, if you happen to pass out during the interview, it'd be great for ratings. So even if you could, yeah.
Yeah, just start talking like this. Wow, man. It's
feeling pretty good.
Weird. I'm feeling kind of off, brother.
Well, buddy, I've known you a long time as a comedian and from the Laugh Factory and from Jill Michelle.
Yeah.
And I always admire what you've done. And Reno 911, I'm a huge fan of course. And Niecy Nash promised to get me on there, which she never did, by the way.
Oh, man.
I just love your character Garcia on there.
Yeah.
Had other friends on there, Nick Swartzen. And I just want to ask you, how much of that can you guys improvise, which is a big chunk of it, right?
Yeah, quite a bit. We did new episodes for what was then Quibi, which will now, I think, appear in other formats. I don't know if I can officially announce anything yet, but the new stuff that we did do in the bubble recently will find a new home, maybe under a longer format than the Quibi 3-minute format. But always from the start from the very first day we did it with Beth McCarthy from Saturday Night Live. It was 2001. And we were a week away from Fox just passing entirely on Ben, Tom, and Kerry. They passed on a sketch show. They told us, let's go home and think about some characters. We're gonna make fun of cops. Our show is called Reno 911. Go home and think about characters. And the very first thing we did in a warehouse in a little empty set was to have Ben play the mime and Cedric and I arrest him for impersonating a mime out in front of a plate. And we just made it up. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you, sir, to stop doing that. And so from there, we would always just get the A, B, and C of a scene and then improvise the dialogue from there. We would have a beginning, middle, and end. We know something that was going to go wrong. If there were two kids on a roof that were going to try to jump their bicycles from one roof to the next, we had the stunt in place. The kid's going to jump off the roof, played by an adult, and then obviously perish. What happens dialogue-wise, we all make it up. So that's how it worked.
I interviewed Cedric once before too. What a great cast, man.
Yeah.
So, and you had the beginning, middle. You knew where you were going, and you could play around a little bit.
Yeah, and then, for example, in that scene, this kid improvises the dialogue like, "Hey, you cannot jump your bike. I bet you I can." "Oh, you bet me you can't?" "Okay, Kenny Rogers. How much money you got, Jones?" "I got 5. We got 8 Washoe County dollars." But because he said that, I said this. There's one great example of what led to a great character arc for Kyle Dunnigan. His original character was a character that he had done before and on stage, which is, "They stole my ice cream cone. These guys came by and they stole my ice cream." And so Wendy is arresting him, and Weigel's in the scene. And he's like, "Well, I guess I'll just go home to my cats." Wendy hears it because she's an amazing improviser and says, "Oh, well, Weigel loves cats." And then she bows out, and Weigel and Kyle Dunnigan start talking about cats. That leads to them being boyfriend and girlfriend. And so one-off episode, what would have been a one-off episode for Kyle Dunnigan, turns into the Truckee serial killer and like a 10-part arc for him. So just because of her ability to improvise an arc and put 2 and 2 together, you know.
It just built that. It just built out from there.
Yeah, you know, I always tell people the original scene with Cedric and I in San Pedro, California, the very first pilot, which we refilmed for Comedy Central, we were filming all kinds of stuff out in San Pedro, all kinds of scenarios, right? And they stick Cedric and I in a car. They turn the cameras on in the trunk, the dash cams, and we drive off. And we're just there to get B-roll stuff. We really haven't established who we are together. We've done a couple of things. And Usher comes on the radio, and I just turn to him and go, do we have to listen to this music? And he's like, what? But he goes with it, and then there is born this relationship of, you know, a really sexy female getting African-American cop with a self-loathing Mexican racist cop. And that relationship is just born because we just riffed it, and Cedric goes with it. And it led to eventually Good Cop, Black Cop, where he's, you know, choking me and beat me up because I'm trying to equate, good cop, black cop. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's good cop. How about I beat your skinny white ass cop? So things
Turn
like
off the
that.
Body cams.
We were able, and you know, especially during this time, and obviously today's verdict, which is good news for me, for a lot of folks. But you know, now is how do you approach cop? You might have come to ask this question, but how do we approach, you know, the dialogue surrounding police and the culture surrounding differently than we did back then? It's obviously changed. And Ben, Tom, and Carrie's answer was to hit it right on the head. So, for example, in the first rollout of Quibi episodes, Cedric is, the department is looking to shoot a white guy to balance the scales. So we've gotten a notice, the Reno Sheriff's Department have to find a white guy and shoot an unarmed white man. That becomes... Been shot
at a couple of times for that exact reason.
Yeah, exactly. So they tackled it right on the head. Obviously, it's changed, but our show is all about satire and showing that we're the fools. The comedy comes because we don't get it, and it allows us to explore those areas, and it's kind of fun.
It reminds me of the documentary American Pimp. Did you ever see that by the Hughes
No.
brothers? You should watch it because they're interviewing pimps, and at first you could hear them off camera, but then they were like, didn't want to be judgmental. Like, let the guys set themselves up.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you couldn't hear them off camera. So the guy would be like, you know, they would make the pimps look bad on their own. They wouldn't have to step in and set them up. They would just be like, one day she's going to come up and say, you know, Daddy, you ain't tough. You's a or something. And he's like, bitch, I'll kill you. But you know you ain't going to kill that bitch. But they didn't even have to say, hey, you shouldn't be saying you're going to kill a bitch. Like they didn't have to say, anything. Let them dig their own grave.
And it is a profile. You know, the things that we lampoon, cops have said, you know, we've seen that kind of stuff before, or you don't know the stuff we've seen that's even more satirical than you have done in your show. You know, it gets stranger than that, you know? And so for us to go up and walk up on a Klan guy that's like, and I know him, hey, Jimmy Jam, how's it going? This isn't a cross, it's a T for tolerance. You know, that stuff has probably happened, you know? It's just weird. It's just bizarre.
I came from some sketchy situation. I grew up in Kentucky and lived in Panama City Beach, Florida. So I was around a lot of cops. I'm like, I don't think that's legal what you're doing there. You know.
Oh, I have two friends from Kentucky. Earl Brown, who's the actor from Deadwood. He's my neighbor. Oh, good. And Shane Taylor, who used to work for ESPN. He now runs Peerless Distillery, great bourbon. But he told me he was with Mike Chirico. He was working ESPN, and he's driving through a state from Kentucky, and they just get pulled over for... You could guess why, and he's like, why are you questioning them and not me? I'm driving the car. You know, that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So, good.
But anyway, I love Reno 911, buddy. I love that. And like I know you're done voiceover work, but I have kids, and so I let them watch their thing. And then it wasn't until I started digging in last night, I'm like, oh, damn, we need Carlos for like 2 hours just to talk about each character. And one question that popped in my mind today is, so when you go into audition for a character, a voice, you're doing the voice, do you see what the character is going to look like and try to mold your voice to fit what he looks like?
Sometimes, we're lucky enough to get a artist depiction or a picture so that it will help us or inform us as to how we're going to approach a character. Other times it's just written. I just auditioned for something for Scooby-Doo and I just looked at the characters, lips were all pursed and whatever, and I made a choice to do a really bad Owen Wilson, My Owen Wilson's not very good. Yeah. But as Billy West said, a really crappy impression becomes an original character.
Yeah,
so I was just like, oh my gosh, welcome to our emporium. It's so nice.
Yeah.
And it ends up being its own unique thing.
Yeah.
You just don't say that, I'm really terrible at this impression. And other times, we'll get a picture and we'll be able to form it. With Rocco behind me, he had the big teethy smile and he had the long nose. And so I just went for it. And it was the right voice at the right time,
That's like Mike Myers said that Austin Powers, Mr. Evil is Lorne Michaels.
Yes. Yeah.
So he got $1 million. Yeah.
$1 million.
Yeah, he said that was Lorne Michaels.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. Mr. Crocker, I've always said it, and if you want to get into the Instagram stuff that I do, Mr. Crocker was a blend of Richard Dreyfuss, Gene Wilder, and Montgomery Burns, done by the great Harry Shearer,
Yeah.
Excellent, Smithers.
Yeah.
And I don't like panties hanging on the rod. And sedative! And you mix it all together and it becomes very good parents. So you just stir it all up in the cauldron and off you go. And with Crocker, I had a reference that, the ears on the neck and the glasses and the visual reference right there for me, and working with Butch Hartman as well. And often, as I say in the Instagram things, when I say how I came up with the voice, it's more collaborative,
Yeah.
Every once in a while you get
just like comedians, we're influenced by something. We take a little bit, something we take a little bit here, we make it our own.
Yep.
As I was just telling Sketch here, I was saying I picked up my daughter today on the way home. I was watching your How I Created the Voice, that little series you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about the SpongeBob character.
Yeah.
My kids love SpongeBob.
Yes.
So they're like, oh, I know that character. And you were saying it was taken from your friend of yours that was a comedian, a little bit of surfer he did, and then something you had done.
Yeah, I for SpongeBob, this character Scooter's like, SpongeBob, you wrecked your pants. And there was a guy, Dave, that worked in my liquor store in Candlelight Liquors in 1981, right after high school. And Dave just had that, that's so funny, dude. And then Mike Pace would do this character like, what's up, bud? You got to smoke a little bit of this stuff. And so it was a blend of both those guys that those are indelible sounds to me. And I actually wrote Mike Pace on Facebook, and I go, Mike, I finally gave you credit in public for sort of borrowing that voice from you. And Mike is a fantastic comedian, a really great guy as well. And so, we borrow from things when I grew up, my best friend's parents were from Glasgow, Scotland, and I played Duggard on Dragon's Rescue Riders, and Monroe and Juniper Lee a long time ago. And I watched Rabsy Nesbitt, which stars Gregor Fisher, who's the manager in Love Actually. And you sort of borrow dialects and throw it all together, and you're able to just pull from references. Obviously, Maurice LaMarche is famously Orson Welles as the brain.
Yeah.
Paulson doing, I think, a version of somebody he was influenced by. For Pinky, oh no, here we go again. So we're all able to just draw from, like comics. We meet characters. It's like if you're doing a bit about going into a liquor store and there's a guy going, I ain't going to pay for it. You just can't make me. You're going to see that as a comic and go, okay, I have to do that.
This guy, yeah, exactly. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So, yes, my uncle Ricky, I said, today is 420. And I've done him since the day when I did comedy. And his motto in life was, blaze on, man. Hell, blaze on.
Yeah.
Like, Uncle Ricky, shouldn't you get a job? Hell no, man. It's cool. Goddamn blaze on. You know, hell, man, I'm messed up. You better drive. I'm like, dude, I'm 7. He's like, you're good, man. And so
you're good.
But
Start with
everybody knows who that is. And he likes it. He's like complimented,
Yeah. I'm watching your fellow Kentuckians and another Georgian, Corey Butterman, Forrester, and he's doing really well on Twitter and stuff. And Trey Crowder, Trey is obviously he's very well educated, but he really kind of dialed it up for that sexually liberal thing. A friend of mine, Henry Cho. Yeah, Henry Cho from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
I did a character for Direct Auto Insurance called JJ Hightail. And interesting, they're based out of Nashville. But when I auditioned, is I'm JJ Hightail, Direct Auto Insurance. You can get your thing at a lower price, blah, blah, blah. And Henry goes, hey, man, somebody says you're doing me. And I go, yeah, I'm pretty much copying you, Henry.
That sounds just like Henry. Hey, man.
Yeah. Hey, man. Hey, Carlos Henry, call me. Call me later. All right. Talk to you later. All right. Carlos Henry. Yeah.
Like you'd never guess who it was if he didn't tell you.
Pardon me?
Like you would never guess who that was.
If you didn't know. And yeah, you know, like most voiceover actors or comics, we're sort of, I think we tend to be more neutral because we're always watching other characters, you know, that are like your uncle, as you say. There's something about them that they're more than just neutral. They're beyond neutral. And so you soak it up. And my parents are from Argentina. And now I'm speaking more Spanish with my mom as I'm learning more. And I've got a good ear for it. My dad was British educated. I watched Monty Python. My best friend's parents were from Scotland, like I said. So right away as a young kid, I'm getting all these sounds and facial expressions which were different. You know, John used to, that upper lip never moved, Carlos. And my mom saying, Carlitos, no me digas, you know, how Spanish sounds, how people's faces move. And as a kid, you're just a computer and you're soaking it all up.
Yeah.
And so that informs us later on in life. If we want to do comedy or characters, we've already done it. We've already done it.
It's in your DNA.
Yeah.
You absorbed all of that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about this witness infection with our friend Jill Michelle Milian.
Yeah. Jill, who I met at the Latino Laugh Festival many years ago. And then we ended up touring when I did the Taco Bell Dog. And she played my sister on Reno 911, Garcia's sister, where they think we're getting married, but I'm actually trying to set up her wedding, and they end up scaring off her boyfriend and ruin her life. But we collaborated in 2018. I just had this idea, this sort of shell about what about mobsters and what about zombies and putting them together? Because we love Shaun of the Dead. We love The Sopranos. I love The Godfather, you know, Bronx Tale. And she said, yeah. And then we just gelled right away. We got all the characters. We wrote a script. Within about 3 months, we had a table read in August. People really loved it. There was a search for financing, which offered really no autonomy. If you go with somebody that invests in your film, they're going to have more influence. I said, you know what? I really want this to be the film we wrote because people really like the script. So my wife and I are going to finance this. We're going to get Andy Palmer, who directed Camp Coldbrook, Find Me, Funhouse Massacre. I had worked with him before. He's an editor. We know it's going to be a small budget, 15-day shoot. We need a director that knows how to direct this. She finds Brett Ernst from Cobra Kai, great comic. Monique Coleman. We were going to have Deborah Wilson, but she had a scheduling conflict. I knew Vince Don Vito, who plays Vince. Rob Belushi, serendipitous that I had taken a class of his for commercial acting and said, listen, I can't play the lead. I need somebody to play my son. Great. Rob Belushi, Tim Stoltenberg, who's in the movie at the end, Tara Strong and Maurice LaMarche, Gary Anthony Williams. We just start casting all our friends with our phones.
Yeah.
And we wrote the script, and we did it, and we shot it, and it's getting pretty good reviews. It's on video on demand, but, you know, it was something that if you have the lucky fortune to be able to afford to finance something like this, you go for it. You do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'll ever make my money back. Knock on wood, I might, you know. But if not, it's a labor of love. I loved it. We made something. We'll always have it. I'm proud of it. And it's fun. It's zombies and gore. And I don't know if you've seen the trailer and I had a chance to see it yet, but it's a lot of fun.
Have. And I'm friends with Brett. I try to get you and Brett and Jill Michelle on the same episode here, but we'll just spread it out and you'll get even more publicity.
Yeah, Brett's fantastic. And he had flown to do maybe, I think, some stuff for the troops. 22 hours from Dubai. He flew to Vegas to shoot another show, slept 3 hours and drove to our set and just was incredible. You know, just his work ethic was so good. And you know, come on, Brett is Dominic. He's Dominic. And so all I'm doing when I'm playing Mr. Sorelli is I'm doing my best version of Brett and my friend Vince Don Vito, who was from the Bronx. You know, and his mom, Amalia, Vince's mom, saw the film. I go, how'd I do, Mrs. Don? And she goes, you did all right. You did all right.
You did all right. She's not going to give up too much.
You know, my wife's Jersey Italian, and so I can do it. You know, Dominic, you're flowing up in my ficus bushes, for God's sakes. Come on. You're all stunad here. So, yeah, we just had a really great cast, and Jill nailed it. Jill, Vince, and Rob in that movie are Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, and Hermione, and they just go through this adventure together, and they hold that movie together. It's kind of wonderful.
I love it. Your kids are so lucky, buddy. How old are your kids?
My daughters are, Riley is 9, going on 10 in less than a month, about 18 days or something, like 20 days. And my other one is 7, and they're doing quite well. They're healthy. They got great friends. They're playing softball, doing it all. They're doing some acting. Riley's a part of a big Nickelodeon NDA series. When it goes, I'll have her come on your show. It's going to be a pretty big show. And Austin just, I'm not an actor, Dad, but Austin just booked this little project with Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd.
Wow,
So it's who knows how much it'll be, but she doesn't care. My older ones are really into it, and the younger one could really care less. She's 7, but they're good. I've read to them. My youngest daughter loves Dogman. She loves Dogman, Captain Underpants, all that stuff. So that's our ritual,
My kids love that.
Isn't it fun? Yeah.
They're 10 and 12, and just love Captain Underpants and.
Yeah, Nat Faxon, actually, Captain Underpants. Nat Faxon was the milkshake guy in Reno.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. All right.
And he won an Oscar with Jim Rash. Jim's like, you don't know me. You don't know me. They won an Oscar for The Descendants, the one with Matthew Lillard and George Clooney about the movie in Hawaii. They won an Oscar for Best Screenplay. So, kids are great. We're lucky, And we do goofy voices, and I think that's why they got into doing voiceover acting and acting, is because I didn't push them like, you need to be an actor. It's just like around the house, we're more goofy, mom's goofy, and I think they just soak it up. They soak it up.
And they can be themselves and be silly.
Yeah.
I was thinking you're like a human speak and spell for the kids. You just which character do you want? You should have a little character on each one.
But I have to tell you, they're more impressed with my street cred. Like, they love Ricky, Nicky, Dicky, and Dong. And like, the dad? That's Brian Stepanek. I know him. Can you get his number? Can you have him do a video? Another one of my friends is Nacho Sericchio, who plays Dan Wells on Lost in Space. Can you get him to say something? Tara Strong, and Scott Menville, and Greg Sipes. And, they love Teen Titans. And, Kari Payton is a father at our school. And so Kari, of course, is Walking Dead, but they know him more from Cyborg. Yeah. So they think Dad's cool. They don't necessarily love my voice work. They love who I know in the voiceover world.
They're like, okay, he's not just a nerdy dad. He's got some street cred there. He knows some cool people.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I love it, buddy. All right, real quick before I let you go, tell me one hell yeah moment where you're like, okay, when I was practicing my uncle's voice or whatever, instead of studying, I did this. And something came to fruition, and you're like, that made me feel good. That was a hell yeah moment.
Oh, God. I'm going to say today's verdict because it's right there.
Okay.
But for personally, you mean personally, artistically?
Yeah, for your career.
I did the pilot for Rocko's Modern Life. I was on the road as a comedian, which, as you know, could be tough. For me, comedy was always a means to an end. So when I was on the road, it didn't feed my soul. It's pretty lonely. And you got to be the right person for it. So I'm at the last laugh. I'm on a payphone back in the day in the 90s in Seattle. It's cold. It's muggy. I kind of want to get home. And I get the call from my agent that Rocko's Modern Life is going to series. And I put the receiver down. I went, yes!
Thank you.
That was a hell yeah moment.
Take me home.
Because it was going to pull me into voiceover work and off the road as a comic.
Awesome.
And so for me, for my soul, that was a hell yeah moment.
Okay, awesome, buddy. All right, tell everybody where they can find you.
They can find me on Twitter at Carlos Alazraqui, on my Instagram if you'd like to see how I came up with the voice. And I also post little snippets of that on TikTok. And there's a carlosalazraqui.com as well. And you can also go to witnessinfection.com to find out where you can see our movie for $3.99.
Very cool. Thank you, Carlos, for stopping by, dude. That was so much entertainment packed into 15, 20 minutes there. And I feel like with your career, I didn't even do you justice. I want to mention Bane and, the Taco Bell dog and so many other stories, but let's get back to that and get you and Jim Michelle on the same one. But Absolutely. Thank you so much, buddy. I'm glad you feel good.
Thank you.
If you can just pass out now, we'll make great television.
Flatline.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. What a blast.
Good seeing you, buddy.
You too.
All right, y'all. That was Carlos Alazraqui. Like I said, that just rolled that, that didn't sound like a hillbilly from Kentucky. That sounded like it's from Argentina, right? All right, Carlos Alazraqui. So glad to have him. How about that talent? So our next guest didn't hear that the drinking word tonight is talent, but this is just this Kool-Aid. That's all it is.
This is the other
All right. I'll see him. All right. We're so blessed to have so much talent on one show. Carlos has won awards. This next guy's won, 2 Grammy Awards, nominated for 17 awards, worked for a couple little artists you may have heard of like Nancy Wilson, Jackson Browne, Stanley Clarke. It goes on and on and on. Jackson Browne, Luther Vandross, the panty dropper. We'll talk about that story when I went to Luther Vandross concert. A few ladies passed out. I was one of them. Hey, no, I'm just kidding. All right, everybody, give it up for my next guest. He's got 3 hit books. We have the same publisher. We're going to talk about how he pulls the curtain back on the music business. Give it up, Mr. Jeff Weber.
Thank you, Stevie. I'm glad to be here.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, man, just trying to perfect my. Oh, look at that.
How many channels is that mixer?
As many as you want.
Shit, look at that. Wow.
And you know what? All we needed was 2.
Really?
Yeah, we recorded the record live to 2 tracks.
Did you really? What do you think about when they're now taking like the masters and then remixing and reissuing? Is that cheating, or you approve of that?
Any way you can get your music to the public so that they can pay attention, whether it's today, tomorrow, or 90 days, I think it's great. My personal opinion is if I release or one of my clients releases a record, 90 days later, I'm encouraging to re-release the record as if it were a new product, because to the majority of the people listening, it will be.
Yeah. As I've told you, I just absorb, I can't get enough of like music, rock documentaries, soul documentaries, autobiographies. I'm reading Waylon Jennings right now, and the top of the list, I don't know if you heard top of the show, we had a top 10 list of best movie quotes. And it was such it went so well last week. I did a part 2 this week. And last week I could only think of one movie quote that was turned into a song. And then a couple of nights ago, I was reading the Waylon Jennings book, and he of course was in Buddy Holly's band. And the day the music died, he was supposed to be on the plane. And he said, "That'll be the day" came from John Wayne movie, The Searchers.
Oh, wow. Did not know that.
Yeah. So I was like, I can't wait to share this kind of information with people, whether they care or not.
Well, those type of quotes are really interesting. In my book, I have one quote that I wished I'd put in, and I think I might have mentioned it to you in the past. The quote is this: "Your music is much better than it sounds." And you have to think, wait, what? But what's more interesting, believe it or not, is that Mark Twain was the guy that said that.
Really?
About Wagner. Now I understand.
Yeah. So have you gotten any backlash? So you've written 3 books, and they all deal with, correct me if I'm wrong, if what like the first one's called You've Got a Deal, Biggest Lies of the Music Business. And so you kind of pull back the curtain on these lies in the music business and show people what they're really in store for, and hopefully they can avoid some of these pitfalls.
I do. I think that now I'm at the age where I can finally tell the truth without fear of any major label reprisals. What are they going to do? Take my birthday away? You know what I mean? And people have asked, well, aren't you worried that the majors are going to be angry at you? And my feeling is, why would they start now? They've never reached out to me before. So I'm a non-entity to them. The whole point of this thing is to provide a little bit of humor, but there's always truth and tragedy in every joke. And if you can just kind of like drift down below the surface, I think that you'll really enjoy it. I always say the same thing. If you want to get the full benefit of my books, just keep them near the restroom, because that's where business happens. And it really is a way of expressing fun and unique approaches to music. Because as you know, all musicians are very emotional, very affectionate, very loving, and very mean. Yeah. So it's always a pleasure when you can, collect some of these things, and everyone knows that they're all, I mean, it's just the nature of our business, One of the biggest lies that record companies can say is, for example, hey, we've got 2 tickets for you at Will Call. You ever gone up to the Will Call and they act like you're from Mars?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Hey, hey, this is Jeff Weber. I got 2 tickets.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Really? Since when? It's like, wait, here's the email that said, no. hit the road, Jack.
So how much synergy has to be involved if you're producing somebody and they come in with an idea, and to be on the same page, they have to have a certain amount of trust in you and respect what you've done in order to take your suggestions, right?
Right, but they also have to understand that my approach is to make them the best version of themselves, not to cater to trends, not to cater to publicity, not to cater to radio, because at the end of the day, they've only had experience being themselves. They have to succeed or fail based on their own abilities, not what publicity or record companies want them to be or look like. So what we do is we prepare very heavily in front. And then at the end of the day, at the end of the sentence, that's the time that we go in the studio to capture a performance rather than manufacture one.
Gotcha. So 17 top 10 albums. Is that correct? 2 number 1 albums, which were?
Well, I don't remember exactly what they were. I'm still trying to remember the 17 or at least, I have to, believe it or not, this is so true. I'm sorry, but I've done so many things in terms of music. I actually have to call somebody and ask them, hey, I know we work with Luther, but how did that go? You know what I mean? What project was that on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm not trying to be evasive or anything or weird. I just, I just can't remember. And at the end of the day, those type of things, believe it or not, are talking points, nothing more.
You've done hundreds. I mean, hundreds of albums. I was just telling Sketch, my producer, before we aired tonight, that I saw Luther in concert, must have been 87. And I love Luther and I loved R&B and I was a DJ. And so I went and I was out of some Tallahassee, Florida, probably out of 16, 17,000 people. That's probably one of 3 white guys. And I loved it. And you just go by the microphone and go, ooh, and women, oh, Lord. And a lot of women, a lot of hats. I couldn't see, trying to look over the hats.
I'll tell you something about Luther. He's got the swooners but that man was a musical genius. I mean,
he was,
he was just so incredibly inside the music that on the record that we did, he actually insisted on creating the background vocal arrangements and being in the background vocal section for the artist that I was producing. So, and just to hear the nuance and the emotional impact that he created, you couldn't be a record producer anymore. You just had to sit there and be a fan, be in awe, and just realize that, hey, there's no amount of trying is going to make any singer as good as Luther.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that you just sit there and you just go, wow, I mean, and that's what makes music so amazing to so many people. It's the wow factor. And, he also was going through his own kind of battles. At the time, he was fluctuating. His weight was fluctuating. Mm-hmm. He was a very private person. I remember somebody asked him if on the session if they could have his phone number, and he said, "Yeah, no problem, 411."
He was private. I had a couple of mutual friends, and I just watched the documentary, as I always do, of Nile Rodgers of Chic. And Nile was saying Luther was advising him how to do the backup vocals, and Sister Sledge and all those tracks that Luther worked on. He was a background singer, before he
actually did commercials. He was a singer in commercials in Chicago, along with another really terrible singer, Patty Austin. Another genius, but they came from that world, and you just have to sit there. And basically, this leads to something else. When I hire musicians to appear on records, the worst thing I could do is to have them play the chart, because I'm hiring them to be themselves.
Yeah.
Why would I say just play the ink? So basically, and this happens on every session, I bring the charts and I say, please don't play this. This is green light and this is red light. Everything in between, you go for it, and don't ask permission, because who benefits? The artist.
Yeah.
Right. And then the musician isn't necessarily just like a hired hand. He's emotionally invested, and he wants to see the best of him on or her on that record, because we've allowed him the creative flexibility to get inside and do it. It's fantastic.
Have you been to the Country Music Museum in Nashville?
Not yet.
The
Not
Hall of
yet.
Fame
I love going to Nashville to make records. They've got some fantastic musicians there, and really great studios there too. So I'm always excited when I can I can go to and believe it or not, the musicians there are extremely generous, you know. And I had a scenario where I asked a musician if he would do 4 songs for $1,700, and his response was, "I don't get out of bed for $1,700." I go, "Okay, so how about 2 songs?" So we agreed. And then he did everything. He did all the songs that we asked him to, the songs that we didn't ask him to. He stayed around making sure everything was great. And from what I understood, in Nashville, it's not customary to walk up to a musician and say, "Here's the chart, please be yourself. If you hear of anything, please don't ask, just do." They don't do that. They're shuttled out of the studio. The producers make up their minds. They're brought in, and they're, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, you realize what you're giving up.
And then they get locked into a sound, and then it becomes cookie cutter. That's what Waylon was talking about. But in the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville, they have a whole section of all these booths, these little stand-up booths, and you put on the headphones, and each one is a different Charlie Daniels or whatever, and it'll be 10 songs that you're very familiar with, you know, #1 songs that Charlie played on that you had no idea. And there'd be the next artist, or Vince Gill or Chet Atkins, whoever it would be. You just put on the headphones. It was all these songs. It was like the Swampers, the Muscle Shoals, or something. Many songs.
Those guys are so great. Glenn Campbell was a session musician, and all of those people are fantastic musicians. I mean, Les Paul invented stereo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like so many things that are so fascinating about the music world that you and I inhabit.
I love it. And I was last night reminded me of your books. Waylon was saying he showed up at the Country Music Awards, and he was one that stepped outside of that cookie cutter. He was a rebel. They coined the term outlaw country outlaws after him and Willie, because they didn't want to sound like everybody else. They wanted to do their own thing. So, he was kind of an outsider. But when he married Jessie Coulter, and she had a #1 hit with "I'm Not Lisa," and they went to the awards, and as soon as they walked in, and this is what made me think of you, the producer whispered in his ear, "Oh, Jessie didn't win, but you won, Entertainer of the Year." They just walked in the door. Then they had to sit there and act surprised. And he's like, "Do I tell Jessie?" And it was like what you were saying, how all this stuff is rigged, and
Yeah, unfortunately, it is, and that's part of what I try to do, is just to educate, to make the playing field level. I mean, if people knew, for example, that the winners of the Voice is selected in the first episode, if people knew that the phrase "America Has Voted" is a complete 100% lie, things like this, like we've talked about before.
I don't want to go too fast over that. The winner of the Voice is determined the first episode.
That's right. And the only reason that I know that is because I have artists that I've produced that have been on that show, and they're the ones that told me. So this isn't me just reading some nonsense. This is like, oh yeah, no, that we knew, and I was relieved, because I told my artist, the only thing that you can't do is win. That would be the most horrible thing for your career, and unfortunately, a lot of young talent go on these shows, or try to get on these shows, because they're convinced that the exposure will enhance their career. They don't really know that there's another agenda that's happening right under their feet, and it has nothing to do with them. And so my role in doing these seminars that I do is just to basically say 2 things: that please understand, and don't be angry. You can't be angry at the shows for, trying to rip you off. By the way, if you hum a song while you're on the property, the physical property of the Voice, you don't own it. They do.
Oof.
Songland.
SNL. You know, you do a character, and they own the character.
They own it. On that show, Songland on NBC, three great, or actually pretty decent songwriter producers, plus an act that's going to record one of four songwriter songs. So the four songwriters sing in front of those three producers, and then one of the songwriters are kind of eliminated, just not because of the song being bad, but maybe it's not the right genre or this or that. And then each of these songwriters are paired up with one of these songwriter producers, and they're really good. And then at the end, the winner is selected, and the act records the song. In order for the songwriter to win, he has to sign an agreement waiving all income that the song would generate in perpetuity.
Wow.
For winning. Now, I don't know what the definition of winning is, but that ain't it. However, it gets better or worse, because then the act records or performs the song, records the song, comes out, and the songwriter's name is listed, even though he's never going to receive a penny. But every single one of those producers is listed, and the acts are listed as co-writers, and they all share in the income except the songwriter. My question is, why would people do that? Yeah. And they say, well, for the exposure. Well, what exposure might that be?
Yeah.
You're on TV for 11 minutes.
Yeah. It's similar to the comedy competitions. I had a buddy of mine that won one season of this particular show, and he came on the show and he was telling me after he won like $100,000, but then he took home like 19,000 or whatever it was, and to pay everybody. And then they had him under contract for, I think it was 2 years. He couldn't work for another network, couldn't do anything. He was like in purgatory. And then it was in his contract. He had to come back the next season and compete again. He's like, I've already won. Why would I come back? And they're like, because it says in your contract, you're going to come back. Well, on this same show, I was on a spinoff. They did a Honda commercial, and each week during the commercial of the show, they would run a Honda commercial, and it was like a competition of us comics each week during each episode. And this week, so 1 week it featured me, and I would be hitchhiking. They would pick me up in a Honda Pilot, and it was so big, I can do a stand-up comedy routine in there. And so we all filmed, all of us comics, on the same day, 13 episodes, whatever it was. So they would take us each out for maybe, 40, 45 minutes. We'd cruise around downtown LA on a Sunday. Everybody got the same amount of time. And then this one particular comic, she went out, and she must have been gone 2.5 hours. And her manager was the producer of the show. And we all said, God damn it, she won. And guess who won?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
What a surprise.
And there was a walkout with, I think, Roseanne Barr. I forgot who else was a judge. All three of the judges ended up walking out on a finale because it wasn't who they voted for that won. But anyway, it's all,
The way I look at it, though, is, and this is what I tell the people who want to be on those competition television shows. Here's what's really happening: every show is a business, and a business has a business model, and obviously the business model is designed to generate revenue. It has nothing to do with the contestants. So basically, the object is for the show to show the network that you've increased your analytics. You've increased your engagements. So, for example, The Voice, you can vote 10 times every time you put in your email address, nbc.com/The Voice, enter your email address. You've got 10 votes. You can vote for one contestant 10 times, or you can spread it around like Christmas cheer. Okay, so again, I have a client on that show. He had a friend in Brazil. He decided, wait a minute, what if I put in another email address, maybe my work email address? Sure enough, 10 more votes. He put in every single email address in his address book. Took him almost 2 days. He voted 23,000 times. 23,000 times. Now, if I happen to know that, and it hasn't been shut down, and you know that, and everyone else knows that, what's going on? Very simply, at the end of the season, the show goes to the network and says, hey, man, let's check out the analytics. Wow, do you see that? That's an increase in engagements, man.
Yeah.
Hey, man, we're charging you more for the show next season.
Yeah.
The network goes to the advertisers and says, hey, man, let's check out whoa, look at the analytics of that show, man. Look at those eyeballs. Man, can you believe it? Hey, man, a 30-second spot is going to cost you 25% more next year.
Yeah.
And that's the agenda. It's always been the agenda. And of course, the consumer ends up paying for it because the price of the products go up. So that's really what's happening, and has nothing to do with the contestants. They're recyclable at a moment's notice. Oh, wait, every whatever it is, they're gone.
Yeah.
We're hard pressed to remember any of those people.
The business of the show, it's called show business, kids. I always knew how to show off. I didn't know about the business until I learned the hard way. I'm still learning. But you got 3 books on Headline Books. We share a publisher.
Yes, my latest book is called You Sound Amazing, Every Single Lie of the Music Business.
I love it. I highly recommend these books. You may shatter a couple of dreams, but you're going to spare people a lot of heartache.
And it's really fun stuff too. I mean, there's a lot of wonderful things and silly things and true things and cartoons and drawings and lists and, I was on another, I guess I was being interviewed by somebody else, and then she said, well, what's the biggest lie, you've ever told? And I said, okay, here it is. That's amazing. You wrote that? Oh my gosh. Was that you on TV? But the problem is that it's very hard to be negative when people's dreams are on paper or they're singing their guts out and their heart out. The one thing you don't want to do is say, hey, listen, can we just talk about, you know what I mean? Plan B.
Oh, Plan B, yeah.
Right. So there's and whenever I discuss someone, I always find something positive, because there is always something positive to talk about when you're evaluating material. And we start there, and we don't use the word bad or anything. We use words that are encouraging, like, hey, you might consider, developing the melody, the chorus melody line a little bit more, so it's something that is more in your favor, so there's less defensive, and think that and I tell people this all the time, my job is to tell people how bad they are by telling them how good they are. And you want, you've been in the studio before. Imagine if you did a track and it was terrible. You knew it was terrible. And what is the producer going to say to make you forget about how bad you were and basically allow you to do another take where you're so energized, you feel so amazing, you're so inside the emotional impact of the song that you now deliver something that perhaps is above and beyond your own expectations.
Yeah.
That's the role of a true producer.
Yeah, I just read Ted Templeton's book also, and he was saying,
he's a great guy too.
He loved Van Halen, but he wasn't a fan of David Lee Roth's vocal abilities until he got to know David a little more and his sense of humor, and said he was one of the most brilliant men you've ever met. So he really had to put in the work to find things that David could do and his skill set and his strength.
It's exactly right, Stevie. I want to put my artist in a position to be successful, in a position to be visible. We're manipulating dreams here, and I don't know of a higher calling than helping someone's dream come true. And I think it's just the way you approach it, what how you say things that can really, really help.
All right, buddy, we're gonna do some book stuff together again. And I loved your idea when we talked on the phone of, let's do like a night of book signing where it's all just like music and comedy and just.
Absolutely.
And you said it's a 1 book minimum. You gotta buy at least 1 book.
I said, yeah, it's free to enter, but there is an exit fee. You got to buy somebody's book. And by the way, besides you and me at this kind of this kind of book signing extravaganza, which I want to have at the end of this year upstairs at the Village, if I can convince them to do it, which I think I can. Lee Sklar, the bass player Lee Sklar?
Of course, yeah, legend.
He has an amazing, and if you know Lee Sklar, you have to flip him off, and then you're kind of in crowd, right? So his book is 6,000 pictures of people flipping him off.
Oh, love it.
It's fantastic, and it's called
Really?
yeah, right. It's called Everybody Loves Me, and you know, there's Steve Lukather, whose book the Gospel According to Luke. You know, it's amazing.
Who's Steve Lukather, did you say?
Yeah, Steve Lukather from Toto.
Yeah. I talk about him in the Trans Am Diaries also.
Yeah, so he's agreed to come.
Toto and
Kenny Aronoff, the drummer. You know,
John Mellencamp and
right, Liberty DeVito, Robin Flans, who wrote the great the great biography of Jeff Porcaro, Grant Geisman, who's presently enough is an expert on EC comics.
Wow.
I mean, you know, these are really amazing people, and of course, another one of your co-publishing mates, Don McLeod, who most people don't have a clue who he is, but everyone knows, the American Tourister Gorilla, and the Gorilla Tales are. Oh my God! I told him the other day, when I grow up, I'm definitely not being you, dude. So
I got to read his book.
It's called Gorilla Tales. Well, you have Juice with the publisher, so you could probably.
I think I know her. All right, buddy. Real quick, what's your hell yeah moment? What was your most proud moment in your career? Besides this doesn't count.
Oh, besides this moment?
Yeah.
The next moment.
Oh, the next one, yeah.
That's the one. You know, the next moment.
Do you have a moment that stood out that you're like, okay, this is
I do have a moment that made me realize that maybe I'm not just kind of, you know, messing around, is when one of my artists, Tony Tennille, we
Love will keep us together.
There you go. I decided to ask her if she wanted to do an arrangement, a large ensemble arrangement of classic material. And we did 22 songs in 11 hours. She with an amazing group of people. And afterwards, she started to cry. And she said, well, at least I can be proud of something.
Nice. All right, buddy.
That was it.
What a great note to end on there.
Yeah. She's
all right,
singer.
Jeff Weber.
Oh my God.
Thank you, buddy. Let's do that
Stevie,
big book signing.
We're doing it, bro. You're on it. And I guess we have to get tons. We're going to have to get tons of your books there too, because I know people will come out and just.
All right. Tell them where they can find you, Jeff.
They can find me. Well, they can email me at
home phone number, Jeff. No, I'm just kidding.
Nobody wants that. JeffreyWeber@me.com. JeffreyWeber@me.com.
All you aspiring singers and songwriters, hit him up. Flood them.
That's right. That way we can make great stuff together. And then we get to come back on Stevie's show and do it all again.
And have another hell yeah moment. All right, buddy. So much talent. Thank you, my friend, for stopping in. Grab your moonshine over there in the bottle. Cheers, Jeff.
Thank you, bro.
All right, buddy. Thanks for stopping by.
All right. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
All right, y'all. We dropped some knowledge tonight. Had some amazing talent. 420. So if you want to learn about my legendary Uncle Ricky, blaze on right there. Trans Am Diaries. I got a new book coming out. We'll get to that. But thank you, Judy, Sketch, Lewinson. Another great show. What a good time in the double wide tonight.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Learned lots, laughed lots of talent in the room.
Mm-hmm. If we said talent one more time, I'm going to be the one passing out.
Oh, talent.
So much talent. All right, y'all. We air every Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific time. If there's a top 10 list you want us to do or guest, if we can get to them, stalk them, whatever we got to do, we'll try to do that for you. But tell your friends. And Judy, tell them where they can find us on YouTube.
On YouTube, you can go to my channel. It's at I am Judy Lew. That's IAMJUDILEW. Or you can just search Come On Get Happy Hour with Stevie D, and you'll find it there as well. And on Facebook, Stevie?
Facebook, Stevie D and his so-called friends. Got a lot of famous friends that don't claim me, but we're over there too. So please watch us every Wednesday night, y'all. Hope you enjoyed it. Come on, y'all. Get happy. Thank you, Sketch. Take us out with something funky.
Yeah, let's hit the music.
Let me take you back in time. You're in the mix with Judy Lew. You're in the mix with Judy Lou.
Bring that back.